Hiya, this video is on natural and human-induced change to coast dune systems, and we're going to explain how dune systems change naturally and how human activity can cause that change, and why human change is impacting more on dunes than natural change. So let's start off with natural change. The main reason how sand dunes naturally change is a biophysical impact of the atmosphere, hydrosphere, as well as the lithosphere, and that's when storm waves cause a great amount of damage to dune systems with big waves, very strong winds, and then the effects we have are washovers. So this is when waves wash over the dune, and because it's normally a destructive wave, when we have storm waves, the power of the wave coming back into the sea is quite heavy and picks up material off the dune and takes it back into the sea, which will probably be moved down to the next beach. Increases number of storms are going to lead to more damage, and this is where, when we talk about storm damage, there is a crossover with human links as well, because if we're changing climate, then we're going to have more storms because the water's getting warmer. So the impact on sand dunes is quite big with human-induced climate change. But naturally, washovers are one thing that happens. We have washouts. These occur in areas where the coastal lagoon is behind the dune, and after a prolonged period of rain, the storm water will breach the dune. So there's two, you have to be careful there. There's two different definitions: washovers by waves caused by the sea, and a washout is where we have a lagoon. So we've got Terrigal Lagoon on the central coast, as well as a Avoca Lagoon. Now, obviously they're linked to waterways, so the difference between washout and washover is that the water is caused by rivers or small channels that join into the lagoon. So when there's a big storm, water enters the channels there and then undercuts the back half of the dune. So we've got two examples on the central coast there, so make sure you highlight that in your notes. And then we have blowouts. This is when we have dried sand on the sand dune, and a really windy day that can push the dune, and that's what a blowout is. I've got a video there that we'll have a look at in class about how dunes suddenly disappear. So that's how naturally change dunes can, and humans are contributing to the effect of natural change by climate change. Okay, let's have a look at human change. Well, the first section we've got there, how the humans do this. Well, they reduce and alter sediment flow. So we've got a picture here of some groins. This is quite common on the UK coast, and what groins do, they stop sediment from building up, or not building up, they stop sediment from being moved. As a result, we have this big pile of sediment, and the groins are just like wooden fences. So at one side of the groin, the sand piles up, and then they get tractors or people dig out the sand and move it on. It's a form of hard engineering, and what I'd like you to do, you've got some information there on your GeoFocus page 74 in your textbook, so if you can read that and make some notes, that would be good. Next, I'd also be explaining how groins work as well. There's a bit of a diagram there. So we reduce and alter sediment flow, and that's what those groins do. And the next slide, I'll show you what I mean by how groins work. And then we have coastal development. Almost 85% of the Australian population lives 50 kilometres or less from the coast. So when we're building so close to the dunes, we're asking for trouble. And Womble was a great example of where we've cut down trees, cut down vegetation, which has increased the instability of the dunes, built houses on it. When we have a natural event like a storm, it gets washed out. So that's two things that have happened. As I was saying, groins, how do they work? Well, we've got this little pebble here, and they trap sand through longshore drift. And as you can see, longshore drift is the movement of material back up and down the beach until it is blocked by the groin. The sand acts as a natural protection against the force of the waves. The waves break on the beach, not cliffs. So as a result, we have sand staying here. Like I said, they're very commonly used in the UK. We do have some examples in South Australia and Victoria, but that's how groins work, and that's how humans can affect sand dune formation by stopping, restricting the amount of sand available. Maybe not on this particular beach, but further up on the beach. So if we had groins, say at Terrigal, north of Oka, the effect would be felt at Shelley and the entrance. Here's an example as well of how humans have affected the beach. Dune formation. Obviously, this is Terrigal, and what we've done, we've built on dunes. Now we haven't had much impact here as such, but around the corner at Womble we've had significant issues. So this is a problem. However, we've kept these trees, which is really important. There's some vegetation here, and then here we have cliffs. So it's not a huge drama, but this certainly would have had an impact and could have contributed to the effects at Womble. Okay, another thing that humans do is recreation, and we like to drive our four-wheel drives, especially on sand dunes, and that's a great and that's what we do at Stockton Beach. It's renowned for off-road driving. Also, people like camping there. Dunes have been flattened by tourists, and like I said, it's not just Stockton. It's on the Central Coast as well. So if you can note down some examples of that, that'd be great. There's a YouTube clip there for you to watch about people using sand dunes. And then sand mining. I've got another little task I want you to do in the geo box, page 76. I want you to make notes on sand mining. Going back to why people and construction and development is happening so quickly, we need materials for that, and sand is a big component of the building industry because it's used to make cement. So the demand for sand is huge. When you've got big piles of sand lying around, what do? You use them. As a result, we have dunes that are subjected to more natural storms and are weakened as a result. So sand mining is huge, a huge big issue. And then we also introduce species of weeds and plants that don't help. The bitto bush is an example that was introduced to help dune stability, and as a result it's killing all the natural plants. It'd be good if you can think of some examples on the Central Coast where we have an area lots of that. Again, there's the geo focus box on page 78. You can make notes about the bitto bush. That'd be a great example to use on how humans are impacting dune formation. And then finally, sea level change. Any chance or any change in sea levels is going to have a huge impact on dune system because they're straight away next to the sea. If this happens in Australia, particularly on the Central Coast, large areas of the Central Coast are going to be affected by the sea level change, and we have lots of our dunes destroyed. So yeah, there you have it. There is a summary of how humans, as well as nature, change dunes. The most important thing you need to know that humans have a bigger effect because the change is quicker. Going back to the syllabus dot point about rate of change, humans change the rate increasingly more than naturally, which is at a slower rate of change. So really big, clear difference between the two and the impact it has. Okay, I hope that helps with how humans and nature impacts dune formation. Thanks.